In our last video, we showed you how to set up a code app and get to Hello World with it. Now, in this video, we're going to show you how to create a beautiful looking interface with a code app. Welcome back to Power Squared.
Welcome back, everyone. So, let's get started. We've got quite a bit to do, but it's actually not going to take us very long, which is quite surprising. So as Josh said in our last video, we had already scaffolded an app. We're going to create a brand new app this time because why not? We're going to show you how quickly it can be done now that you're used to it, now that you've seen it before. So we could just call this timesheets, something like that. Doesn't really matter. We don't really care about it. We press enter on that. And then very quickly, we get our app scaffolded. Okay, so that was really quick. We got our app scaffolded and we're in the right directory for our app. We have the folder open for it. So now we need to do npm install, which will install all of our packages so that basically our app is just about ready to go. There's just one more command that we need to do after that. So now that that's done, and that was done mega quickly, all we need to do is our pack code in it that you saw from the last one. And we'll just change the display name to timesheets again. Nice and easy. And then that connects to our environment, gets our power config, and then we're sorted and we're good to go. So now what we can do is we can do npm run dev, which is what's going to run our development server. And then it's ready in localhost. So then what we can do is we could open up our simple browser, and then we could put that website address in there, and then we can see that it's up and running. There we go. And it works. So now we've scaffolded this and it took us, like a couple of minutes, if that, then we're ready to get going with our prompt. And we're going to attempt to do a one-shot prompt on this one, right, Josh?
Hopefully, and we're doing this with no magic edits. This is going to be one prompt to build something that looks pretty good. This will hopefully showcase that kind of secret sauce with the magic of AI to do that for us. Obviously, you can see in the VS Code editor, you get the chat window now by default. Using GitHub Copilot, if I'm not mistaken, that's what you need. It's there, baked in already. So we've got a prompt ready. Charles, you want to just talk briefly about the prompt?
Yeah, so I essentially generated this prompt using AI and hardly gave it any details. So fingers crossed that it's a good one. But I think the main point of this is just how quickly you can get up and running and you can get something decent. And then it's something that you can iterate on and make better. But also we're showing that this is something that's inside of Power Apps as well. We're not doing a custom web app. This is actually going to run inside of Power Apps. And we're not going to connect to any data sources. We're just going to get that interface up and running, hopefully nicely with this one-shot prompt.
Yeah. And I think it's important to note as well that the prompt is probably just as important as part of this process as actually creating the app is. We will cover how to prompt in another video, how to set it up, what you need to get going. So stay tuned for that.
All right, let's give this to AI and see what it does with it. So what happens as the AI agent is going through this is it will sometimes ask you to perform commands, and these are commands that will go into your terminal. So you can read them and you can understand what they're doing. So this one is saying npm install. So we know that it wants to install a package from Node Package Manager. It's asking to install Tailwind CSS, which is for our styling, Frame of Motion for animations, Lucid React, which is for lucid icons. So it's doing these kinds of things. I mean, it's even got confetti in there for some reason, which will be quite interesting. But yeah, you can see that there's nothing we need to worry about for that. So we'll just click on allow, let it to continue running. You can configure your VS Code GitHub Copilot chat agent to just automatically allow these things. But I'd recommend you don't do that because there's a chance it might want to do something you're not happy with. So it's good to have that human in the loop. Just double check what it's doing, especially when it starts to have access to, say, your Dataverse instance, and it might decide that it wants to delete tables and things like that you don't want it to. Of course, when we're developing a Power App, we're going to be working in a development environment, so it's not that much risk with that, but maybe you're going to connect to Microsoft Graph or something along those lines. You do want to be careful with what it does. So yeah, basically just keep an eye on it, make sure it's not going to do anything too naughty.
And if it is, and you're worried, you can always hit the stop button when it's doing the generation, and that will kill it dead in its tracks. So something to keep mindful of there. So that's the app generated. Obviously, we've cut out that whole process. It's only taken maybe about 3 minutes in total behind the scenes to generate, which is, in my opinion, that's absolutely phenomenal in the speed at which that app's created. When you think about all of the time that it would take to go and research, actually start trying to develop this, failing and, going down rabbit holes to try and fix issues, for this to create in a few minutes is mind blowing, really. So that's the power, that's the magic source with AI and getting that to do that generation for you.
Yeah, and I've just zoomed out a bit because I think the simple browser doesn't really like the zooming. It gets a bit confused, but it will be a mobile-friendly, a responsive app that it's built. I'm just keeping it in simple browser to keep everything simple for us. But if you look at the design, for us just putting in one prompt, this is mental. It's so, so good. And as we hover over things, we've got these nice animated effects. It looks beautiful, really. I mean, there's not much you'd need to do to this to make it a really, really good app. I think as far as the user experience is concerned, I'm looking at this and it's pretty simple to understand what's going on. So we've got our week at the top. We can traverse through our weeks and that works automatically. So we've got Monday we were working on, and then we've got some dummy data in there. We can say how many hours we were working on it, and it goes through our week. And then we've got the ability to submit it here, which is slightly hidden by that. So this is a thing that's added by VS Code, because VS Code is actually really clever. So what you can do is you can add an element here. So we could highlight something and then we could add that to the chat and we could say, well, with this element, can you do this? So it's very similar to vibe.powerapps.com with that particular aspect. Any comments on the app, Josh?
Yeah, for the first pass, one prompt, I think that's brilliant. Obviously the kind of UI design in me wants to make tweaks, but for a starting point, that's brilliant, right? You can't get any better than that, to be honest. What I'm curious about, I don't know if this is going to work, but can you click submit? Because that confetti package got added when we scaffolded this app. Yeah, it does show the confetti. That's brilliant.
Amazing.
It obviously wanted to just kind of gamify this a little bit for us, whether that's, a good thing or a bad thing, I'll let you decide that. But, it's great, it's visual, it's clear, and all within the space of 5 minutes, really, in total, from creating a new app to actually prompting, off you go. It's phenomenal. These apps and how you create them and how you become a vibe coder, and it's the term that's being used for all of this stuff, isn't it? Is only as good as the prompts that you give it, right? So when we're talking about prompting, it's the ability to be able to kind of clearly define what is it I want from, my AI agent to do. And it's quite a skill in of itself, because if you don't prompt it right, effectively give it garbage in, it's going to give you garbage out. So you've got to be knowledgeable and know how to prompt the right way to give it the right information that it needs to make an informed decision. And that's really what takes you from being this kind of, I'm just kind of getting started with prompting and vibe coding, to I now know how to do this and I know how to do it well and the right way. What is it actually doing behind the scenes? How can we use these prompts? How can we generate these prompts? And how can we improve ourselves to make better apps and not just generic looking vibe coded apps that are starting to become quite prominent online, right? So really looking forward to taking everyone on that journey. And I think you are as well, Charles, right? And do stay tuned for these videos, because it's going to be a really, really exciting journey.
So to add to what you said, I think from my perspective, this is amazing as a starting point, but you have to consider things like, what are best practices? What does the code really look like behind the scenes? Is it maintainable? What's the longevity of this app? Is it accessible? AI agents will attempt to do the right thing, but they can't always do that. They are still fallible. It's going to be our job to help you on that journey, to help you to understand, how can I make an accessible app? What do I need to tell these agents to do? What do I need to tell them in order to make maintainable code? Because this is a very simple app, so it's probably just going to work. But what happens when we get to something much more complex? How are we going to be able to maintain that? If we just go down this vibe coding route without caring about what we're doing, we're going to get to a point where we have an agent that gets stuck in a loop because it can't figure out what to do. And that will be because we haven't created the right code for it to maintain. So yeah, it's all of that side of things that we've got so much to talk about on. And by watching these videos, it will turn you into someone who can do vibe coding in a really good manner because we've already proved it ourselves.
Yeah. That's what's going to give you that competitive edge over someone else starting out on vibe coding, because anyone can do this. We've proven this here. You don't need to know how to code, but you do need to know how all of this stuff connects together. And this is what we're going to teach you. And you'll leave this series of videos knowing that you are confident in making those decisions to become a really good vibe coder, vibe engineer, whatever you want to call yourself. You're going to come out of this series much more informed with this stuff.
So yeah, coming up next, we've got how to connect to data. So we'll connect to Dataverse and we'll show the best practices around that. If you just follow the docs, there's a chance you might come unstuck. So you need to think about what are the best practices within Power Platform as well, because this is Power Platform. So there are some nuances there. We'll get us connected to data. We'll get it pushed into Power Apps. So it's a published app and it's something that you can actually share with your end users. And then, well, there's so much more that we can do with it from that point, but that will be amazing to see.
Yeah. So stay tuned and we'll catch you the next one.